It is 5:08 a.m. where I'm at, and we're about to get started. And we're about to get started with some simple mobility and a little bit of foam rolling this morning. Sounds working just fine. And I appreciate you dropping by this morning and saying hi. I'm just setting up the timer. And we're going to get started. And after we've done the exercises, I'm going to put on my walking shoes and go out for a short walk out into what you could classify as cold. It is 4 degrees outside. So it's not super warm, it's not super cold, but here we are. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. Last night was relatively short, just under 7, 6:45. Long interruption. I've been up since 4 because one of the kids is coughing. Then I couldn't fall back asleep, so I figured I'd get up and do some research for a podcast and future episodes. So I've been using the time well this morning. Haven't had any coffee yet or anything else. I'm quite looking forward to the cup of coffee after the workout before we move on. So that's shorter than usual, but still not bad. Like it's below 7, but still above 6. Definitely above 6.5. So we should be fine throughout the day. I mind what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, so I'm mindful of how much I eat versus how much I expend in a day. My energy balance lies around 21, 2200 calories is what I aim to get out of food. I aim to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of greens, big salads, big fan of salads or vegetables from the oven. Not necessarily vegan. I do eat meat, I do eat fish, but I think in general there's a lot to be had out of eating more plant-based food. For general health and fitness, to be very honest, I tend to sleep a bit better when I eat light in the evening. And I try to eat sufficient protein to support my muscle and strength goals, especially now that I actually am not doing any strength training, and I won't be doing any strength training for another week and a half, give or take, before we start doing some push-up and body weight training again. It's going to be a challenge, but in general, try to just live healthy and eat well, so to speak. I also show up for training. Generally, I'd show up for strength training, strength conditioning, conditioning endurance training, sprints, mobility. But I injured my back a couple of weeks ago, so I am still recovering. I have recovered to the point where I can actually do mobility and exercise and move pain-free again. So we are going to take it easy for the foreseeable future because my back needs to last me another 50 years. I want it to be back in good shape before we actually put any strain or load on it again. But we'll get there over time. Let's see in a week and a half when we start with squats and push-ups and lunges, what is going to happen. I also try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. So if those are things that you are interested in, you want to hear from me, have questions for me about my health and fitness journey. I've been in and out of gym since I'm 16. Been starting to take this. I've weighed 101 kilos. I weigh 85 kilos or 86 kilos at the moment. I've weighed 79 at one point, gone from 101 to 79. I've maintained general health for the last 7 years, I think, with some fluctuations. Been closer to 90, been closer to 80. So I'm trying to settle on 85 through general lifestyle choices, which seems to be working out just fine. Go ahead in the chat, reach out, ask me, and I can answer any of the questions you might have or anything you might want to know. This is about the way I look. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. This is definitely not a channel about the way I look, because then the channel would be completely useless. This is a channel about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. And life can throw a lot at us. I found that it is just generally helpful to be fit and to be capable and to be able physically to do the things that I want to do, and staying fit and healthy by training my mobility, training strength, endurance, training my VO2 max through sprints and hit intervals definitely helps. We're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on, and the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So we are going to get started. I did my foam rolling last night, so we're just going to dive right into mobility. I thought it would be a nice way to relax before bed. I changed my mind while I was doing some of the foam rolling, simply because I realized that actually it is quite intense and somewhat uncomfortable. Not in a bad way, because I can sense the benefits from it, but it is probably not as relaxing as I envisioned it to be. I'm going to do some breathing. I'm going to breathe in. So how am I doing today? I'm doing all right. I'm having a good start of the day, and hopefully you are as well. It is nice to be in a spot where I am able to do more than simply go out for walks, even though I will admit that the being outdoors in the morning and getting that exercise in has been quite fantastic for the last 2 weeks. Thanks for saying. Geese88, thanks for dropping by. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. And next time say, thanks for dropping by. I hope you're well where you are in the world. I hope you're having a good start of the day or end of the day. No, I'm not. That would be a physical impossibility. Breathing exercise will do. It expands your stomach. And then you see that on camera. Geese, how's life? How are you doing? You on a treadmill doing any kind of workout, or are you simply chilling in the evening, getting ready for the day to end? Today we're just going to talk about general health and fitness, and specifically food and how food actually plays an important part in maintaining our general health and fitness, but that we face some challenges in our ability to actually eat well for health and fitness, because there's a lot of conflicting information, or we have been exposed to a lot of conflicting information over the years. And we need to figure out at one point in our life what is going to work for us and what isn't going to work for us, and what is and isn't healthy, and make some choices about the role that food plays in our day-to-day life for the rest of our life. And I can tell you that in my experience, it is a lot easier, a lot more tempting to eat the food that over time will adversely impact health and fitness, simply because it is readily available, it is cheap, and it is made to be incredibly tasty. Alaya Fonseca is thanks a lot for dropping by, and I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. As I'm barefoot, I don't know what sock you want me to take off, but the answer to that request would generally also be no. But I hope you're having a good end of the day, or start of the day, wherever you are in the world. And if you want to know anything about health and fitness, you go ahead and you let me know and ask the question you have. See, food in general, we need to eat to stay alive, right? Food is incredibly functional. But over time, and especially in the recent 50 years, food has become more and more something that we consume for pleasure, for the taste, seemingly forgetting the crucial part it plays in trying to keep us functioning and healthy in favor of giving us pleasure, satisfaction, and short-term distraction, maybe even meeting certain emotional needs. And I think the first step for us, if we are really vested and interested in getting fit and healthy over time for life, Vegan Dolls, I appreciate the shout out. Thanks for dropping by. And Vegan Dolls, I hope you're doing well. And I hope life is treating you well where you're at in the world. And that you're having a good start or end of the day and I appreciate you dropping by. And so the first step is really reassessing and understanding the role that food plays in our day-to-day. And like I always say at the start, I like to eat vegetables and have increased the proportion of vegetables and plant-based in my regular diet because of the growing insight, but also experience that eating more plant-based foods and vegetables is a healthy choice. I'm not saying you have to cut out all the rest, but there is a lot of other food out there that isn't fresh, that isn't nutrient packed, but that is calorie dense, that is so much easier to come by and so much more palatable, but so much more detrimental to our general health. And don't get me wrong, because you might find me eating a pack of Oreos once in a while, a bag of crisps, or a hamburger. I made fried chicken this week, right? I regretted it a little bit because it was very heavy. There's nothing inherently wrong with those foods. But if the base of the diet, of the nutrition pattern is overconsumption of calories, and then the predominant calorie sources are generally nutrient poor and calorie rich, meaning that it is easy to overeat. Because whenever I make a salad, right, I make big salad bowls, all right, there's a lot of chewing involved, but it's very hard for me to create a salad with that volume that, by the way, has carbs, fats, proteins in it, that goes over 500 calories. So 2 of those full meals is 1,000 calories, is not even half of my goal intake every day, but I find it very hard to eat anything in the hours after. Hey, Mr. White, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you back. Silver Eagle. No, I didn't get them on Amazon, but I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. Both of you, Mr. White, it's good to see you back. It's been a while. I hope life is treating you well, and that you've been good where you are in the world. Quite a few things have happened here, recovering from a back injury and slowly getting back into movement and training without any load. That's why there are no kettlebells set up, because I'm not even trying not to pick them up, even to just walk around with them. So looking at the options, right, I just find that before, and I know what the factors are, like I've been quite conscious about my health long enough now to figure out what kinds of foods have what kind of impact on my body and on my functioning. And I can tell you that we are, in general, in our eating habits, over the course of years of consumption, starting as children and then years as consumption as adults and years of being marketed to, and years of buying behaviors, and years of not being focused on what wholesome, healthy eating looks like. It has become too easy to procure, to buy foods that are packaged, pre-processed, easy to prepare, that provide a certain flavor experience, but that compared to the standard of nutrition that I've set for myself over the last years, by focusing on what I can buy, what I can make, what would be fresh, and definitely some things to be aware of in terms of the impact all those packaged foods are having on three key areas of nutrition. That would be, first of all, on the energy balance. So, how much do we actually need to eat to maintain our health, fitness, but also our ability to function, versus how much are we eating? In the macronutrient composition, how much fat, protein, carbohydrate are we consuming? And then what quality, what is the meal timing of the food? So we have quantity, quality, and timing. And of the three, quantity, so how much we're eating in terms of calories, is going to probably be the factor that we're least aware of, but that we should become more aware of in order to understand that our relationship with food needs to change, because there is no universe where I can eat a bag of crisps even once a week on Friday while I'm preparing dinner, have a very nutrient-dense dinner. And that is nutrient-dense because of the ingredients and quantity that I'm using to cook. That is rich in oils, meats, and carbohydrates, and low in fibers because there aren't that many vegetables added to it, but incredibly tasty with salt and spices. And then enjoy an alcoholic or sugary beverage with that drink. Maybe add in some bread to dip in olive oil, or some snacks, some cuts, or if you can tolerate dairy, cheeses, or crackers and toasts with God knows what before, and you have a dinner that easily can hit 700 to 1,000 calories without you realizing it. And then you've had a bag of crisps and a heavy lunch and a sugary breakfast and 2 or 3 coffees with milk, cappuccinos, lattes, flat whites throughout the day, and suddenly you are hitting 3,000 calories in a day easily without realizing it, because with one of those coffees also came a cookie or a snack. And there was also a colleague at the office who was celebrating their birthday, and they brought a treat. And overall during the day, because energy balance isn't just about eating, we didn't move at all. We didn't do any kind of exercise or any kind of movement beyond the walk to the train station, the walk to our desk, the walk to the restaurant where we got our lunch, and then the walk back to the train station and the walk home. Or we do the commute by car, which means that the walk is limited to the walk down the driveway to where the car's parked, which isn't an improvement, by the way. So, it's the combination of that severe lack of exercising, because 1 hour of working out isn't going to save you from that lack of movement throughout the day, and the diet I just described. We need to exercise a bit more understanding and control over that. So we need to take a good look at the quantities we're eating and the qualities of the food that we are eating. And then from there, we need to look into the time frames within which we're eating. As in, it might be beneficial to not eat after a certain amount of, a certain time of day, in favor of fasting for a number of hours. But the effects of that are disputable and minimal, whereas the effects of managing our energy intake, our energy balance first, and then the quality of our meal composition after, proven to work just fine. I think tangerines are great. SDL, thanks for dropping by. Appreciate that. I appreciate you saying hi. Poor man's Jim. Good morning. How are you doing? Good to see you back. I hope life is treating you well. And I hope that you're having a good day where you're at in the world, as are you, SDL. I think tangerines are great. I think we can do with 1 to 2, maybe 3 pieces of fruit in a day. Because compared to certain types of snacks that are available, actually eating a fruit gives you that extra fiber, usually to accompany the fruit and the sugar that's in the fruit, making it a better option than some of the processed options out there. So yeah, no, but in general, right? I mean, when we look at breakfast, how are we balancing fats, proteins, and carbohydrates at the start of the day? How many proteins do we need in a day for our health and fitness goals? There's a debate apparently at the moment around what is healthy in terms of longevity versus what is healthy in terms of muscle building and muscle proportion. No, I think the discussion is had. Now it's just a matter of deciding where you fall on that spectrum. And then there is a conversation about sources of protein and the positive and negative impacts of plant-based, fish-based, dairy-based, animal-based proteins on your long-term health and the propensity to develop different kinds of diseases. I had never considered that, but apparently it is something worth looking into, and I'll probably talk a bit more about it when I talk about my nutrition choices down the line. But I think someone like Dr. Walter Longo prescribes a diet that is more plant-based and low in proteins, with the idea of becoming 100 years old and still being disease-free, healthy, and capable. Whereas other people, like someone like Peter Attia, and we look at longevity, might be prescribing different kinds of protein quantities to help support a very active lifestyle. He's a big proponent of sports and movement for longevity, to beat diseases and to stay healthy and fit for life. So it's a different approach and worth looking into and learning from. And what's the middle ground for me? What is my current goal? And what do I make of that? So we have some things to think about. And I've decided to lean more plant-based, even though I don't cut out meat and fish and dairy entirely. And I'm wondering what I can achieve on a lower protein intake over time, but we'll have to see, because I felt pretty good on the diet I had before. So what I was doing was definitely working for me. And that's also important to remember, that out of all of these general guidelines and conversations, as individuals, we just need to be mindful that we need to try different things and learn what works for us, while keeping in mind a frame of reference that we need to look at the quantities of food, specifically in terms of calories we're consuming, the quality, composition of the food in terms of macronutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, salts, fibers, and other nutrients that we're trying to get in. And then from there, we need to just be mindful of fact that it is easy to overconsume given all of the food options that are available, that managing how we eat and how much we eat and when we eat is as much a challenge related to our environment and to our behaviors as it is to what is generally available for us. For example, even at this time of day, I could go out. There's a couple of gas stations / convenience stores in the vicinity, right? And I could go there and I could find a whole bunch of packaged options. I doubt they would toss me a fresh salad, tomatoes, garden leaves, and other things at this time of day. But they would have a variety of prepackaged or oven-baked foods, rich in carbohydrates, probably with some protein, some meat or cheese options in it. Very low in fiber, very low in greens and other nutrients, but probably prepared with oils and fats to give them flavor and salts. Or in terms of drinks, very likely to be able to get coffee there. I have very little doubts about that. But we would be hard-pressed to find, a properly boiled egg with some fresh sourdough toast, some high-quality olive oil, and a small tomato salad on the side. To go with that, maybe some fresh salmon, freshly smoked salmon, or freshly made salmon even, if you want to take it to another extreme. But, a blend of freshly prepared whole foods, maybe some beans, not even in tomato sauce, but just beans to go with that breakfast. That would be very hard to come by at this time, but packed sugar would be abundant. I think you know exactly the type of food landscape that I'm talking about. And I think what we are talking by, it seems like the stream quit on me. So